everyone. My name is Tom. My name is Tommy. I'm 10 years old. Today I'll talk about history in lessons 43, 45, and 4th grade. First, I will review about the map our nation grows. And this is the United States, 1796. This is the Louisiana Purchase, double the size. And Florida is purchased from Spain. The Texas annexation, the Mexican cession, the Gadsden Purchase, the Oregon Country, the Alaska Purchase, and the Hawaii annexation make up the United States. And I will talk about the map North America physical. And this is the Hudson Bay, and this is Lake Superior. This is Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and this is the St. Lawrence River. This is the Gulf of Mexico. This is the Ohio River, Mississippi River, Missouri River, Rio Grande, and Colorado River. And this is the Rocky Mountains, and this is the Basin Desert. And today I will talk about the first Battle of Bull Run. And there are some, and I will talk about some important battles of the Civil War. And the first Battle of Bull Run is, and Stonewall Jackson is the hero in the first Battle of Bull Run. Merrimack and Monitor are the ironclad ships in both sides. And the Battle of Antietam was the deadliest battle in the whole Civil War. The Emancipation Proclamation is the speech that Abraham Lincoln declared that all slaves would be free. And the Battle of Gettysburg is where many of the soldiers on each side lose their life, and it is also the turning point of the war. Gettysburg Address is when President Lincoln makes it a law that we should pray for the soldiers who sacrificed their life in the Battle of Gettysburg. And the Battle of Vicksburg, in the Battle of Vicksburg, the Union got control of the Mississippi River, and the South is divided in two, but did not surrender. And today I will talk about the first Battle of Bull Run. And the Union Army stopped hope to end the Civil War almost as soon as it started. So General Grant former plan that would go to Richmond, Virginia, to the capital of the General President Lincoln sent his trusted general to a plan that is to capture Richmond, Virginia. And when they got there, Confederate troops were already there to fight. And then, when the Union troops, when the more Confederate troops came, the Confederates won the first Battle of Bull Run, and it also won the second Battle of Bull Run. And President Lincoln think of a plan that would block the South, he would hope to end the Civil War. He sent Union ships to block the major harbor of the South, and then some Confederate ships still can fool the Union ships and slip through. But most of the ships cannot go either north or to Europe. And then the South decided to build an ironclad ship, but his plan was to raise the Merrimac, a sunken ship. And when the sunken ship was on land, they covered it with iron, and they hoped that the cannonballs would still bounce off the water. Hopefully bounce off the iron of it. On her first trip, the Merrimac defeated two of the Union's best ships, but they didn't know that the Union is also building a secret ironclad ship called the Monitor. And people on land watching this battle describe the Merrimac as an upside-down bathtub, and the Monitor as a rectangular box on a raft. And in the Battle of Antietam, the general of the southern states decided for a war to take place now in the north, and from that battle to every other battle, the war to the end of the war, battles take place in the north. And the plan was to go up the Potomac River and surprise the Union troops. But the Union troops were already prepared on the Potomac River. And when General Lee's troop went to a creek, it was named Antietam, and General McClellan attacked General Lee's force at the Battle of Antietam, and that battle was the battle that most Americans died on every side on the Civil War. And Clara Barton was a child who cared for her younger brother and later became a teacher and then a doctor. She formed a group of men and women called the Red Cross, and she went to the battlefield and cared for the wounded soldiers before it was too late. And then on January 1, 1863, President Lincoln gave a speech now called the Emancipation Proclamation, and the document stated that all slaves would be free. And then the Battle of Gettysburg and And when General Lee's troops was forming a plan to surprise the Union by going north, but they did not. In the Battle of Gettysburg, the Union Army won, and General Lee's force have to move out of the north. And then President Lincoln gives a speech now known as the Gettysburg Address, and it shows the honor to soldiers who have died in that battle. And the Battle of Vicksburg is the battle where the South was divided in two because the North won control of the Mississippi River. And I will read important battles of the Civil War. The first Battle of Bull Run. The Union Army hoped to end the Civil War almost as soon as it started. The plan was to capture Richmond, Virginia, the capital of Confederacy. In mid-July of 1861, nearly 3,000 Union troops commanded by General George McClellan invaded Manassas, Virginia on July 21, about 20 miles south of Washington, D.C. Confederate troops met them for a battle near a creek called Bull Run. Could the Union troops successfully take Richmond? After even more Southern troops arrived, the Union was outnumbered. South won this major battle, called the First Battle of Bull Run. The First Battle of Bull Run, and would return the next year to win a second Battle of Bull Run. A Confederate general named Thomas J. Jackson became the most remembered soldier at Bull Run. He rode in the middle of the battlefield and told his men to hold their position until reinforcements arrived. A soldier said, "There stands Jackson like a stone wall," earning the general the name Stonewall Jackson. Blockade against the South. Although the Confederacy had early success in the Civil War, Union has a strong advantage throughout the rest of the war. At one point, there were twice as many Union soldiers as Confederate soldiers. The North had factories to make materials needed in war and had farms that grew large amounts of food. The South had few factories, and its economy had depended mainly on the crops of cotton and tobacco. Usually, small gardens produced just enough food for one family. Southerners could not eat tobacco, and they could not wear cotton unless it was turned into cloth by the factories in the North or in Europe. Some in the South struggled to have basic needs met throughout the war. President Lincoln knew that the South depended on trade to Europe for guns, ammunition, war supplies, and food. Without these things, the South did not have a chance of winning the war. Lincoln sent ships to blockade all major seaports of the South and keep ships from entering or leaving. A few Confederate ships managed to fool the Union ships and slip through, but most ships sailing either north or south were stopped. Important names: Stonewall Jackson, Confederate general and most remembered soldier at the First Battle of Bull Run. Important terms: First Battle of Bull Run, first major Civil War battle won by the South. Merrimack, Confederate ironclad ships. Monitor, Union ironclad ship. Battle of Antietam, deadliest battle of the Civil War. Emancipation Proclamation, document declaring that all slaves were free in states that had been left the Union. Battle of Gettysburg. Turning point of the Civil War. Gettysburg Address. The 3-minute speech by President Lincoln that honored both Union and Confederate fallen soldiers. Battle of Vicksburg. Battle that gave the Union control of the Mississippi River, cutting the Confederacy in half. Battle of the Ironclads. The Confederate Navy has very few ships compared to the Union Navy. The South badly needed to break the blockade that was preventing it from getting important supplies. Southern leaders had to formulate a plan to find at least one powerful ship. The plan was to raise the Merrimack, a ship that has recently been sunk. Before the Merrimack could sail, there was much more work to be done. How could a sunken wooden ship be repaired and made to perform better and stronger than the Union ship? To create an ironclad ship, the Confederates covered the Merrimack with thick iron plates. They hoped that the cannonball and gun shell would simply bounce off. Guns were fitted on each side of the ship. A sharp rod of iron was attached to the head of the Merrimack. Was attached to the front, which would allow the Merrimack to ram in the sides of the Union ships. An ironclad ship would easily destroy wooden ones without receiving any harm itself. The Merrimack's first battle was a great success. Within a short time, she destroyed 2 of the Union's best ships. However, the South did not know that the Union was also building its own ironclad ship called the Monitor. The Merrimack and the Monitor soon met in battle. What a strange-looking battle that must have been. People have described the Merrimack looking as an upside-down bathtub and the Monitor looking like a rectangular box on a raft. The ironclad ships were evenly matched. They fired at each other, but neither could do any better than dent the sides of other ships. Even ramming the ships did little damage. Either side won, but the battle proved the value of ironclad ships to the Navy. Gradually, more ships were built with iron and steel. Battle of Antietam. As the war continued, Union soldiers discovered a Confederate battle plan to invade the North. General Lee's plan was to send his men across the Potomac River from Virginia into Maryland. The Union soldiers took the plans to General McClellan, whose troops attacked General Lee's force at Antietam Creek, a tributary that flows into the Potomac. Although the Union claimed victory in battle, there was severe loss of life on both sides. During the Battle of Antietam in September 1862, more soldiers died on one day than any other day of the entire Civil War. In the years following Antietam, Lincoln was not satisfied with McClellan's leadership and replaced him with another leader before finally chose Ulysses S. Grant to lead the Union Army. Clara Barton. As a child, Clara Barton learned nursing skills by caring for her injured brother for 2 years. After several years as a school teacher, Miss Barton had begun working in Washington, D.C. Then the Civil War began. She watched as wounded soldiers were carried into the city. Hospitals were overrun, and the Capitol building, which was still under construction, became a place to care for the injured. Clara Barton gathered medicine supplies and began caring for the wounded. She realized that some soldiers had been wounded days before they arrived at the hospital. Although a nurse had never traveled to a battlefield, Miss Barton was given permission to travel with the Union Army and care for the wounded soldiers. During the Battle of Antietam, a bullet went through her sleeve and hit a man beside her. Nothing kept her from her mission. Doctors began to call Miss Barton the angel of the battlefield. At the end of the Civil War, President Lincoln appointed Clara Barton to lead a missing persons office, locating the remains of fallen soldiers. Later, Miss Barton helped to organize the American Red Cross, which care for wounded soldiers and victims of natural disasters. A monument was constructed in her honor on the Antietam battlefield. The Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863. As battle continued, President Lincoln issued a very important document called the Emancipation Proclamation. It declared that the freedom of all slaves in the states that had left the Union. The Union Army, which had begun fighting to keep the United States together, now has another purpose: to free people from slavery. Some Southern slaves escaped and joined the Union Army. By the end of the Civil War, over 170,000 black soldiers had fought for the Union. Battle of Gettysburg. The Civil War battles had occurred mostly in the South. General Lee decided to move the Confederate Army's troops north, hoping that a North invasion would surprise the Union and bring an end to the war. In June of 1863, Lee marched 70,000 men from Virginia to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The Battle of Gettysburg began on July 1, 1863, and lasted over 3 days. The South lost, and over 4,000 soldiers were wounded or killed during this one battle. The Battle of Gettysburg was the turning point of the war. Defeated, General Lee marched his troops back to Virginia. In the fall of that same year, President Lincoln traveled to Gettysburg to dedicate a cemetery to the soldiers who had died during the Battle of Gettysburg. As President Lincoln stood on and addressed the people, he honored fallen American soldiers from both sides of the war and shared his hope for a strong Union to come as the result of the Civil War. His words were well chosen and few. Though only a 3-minute speech, the Gettysburg Address is one of the most famous and most familiar speeches ever given by a president. Many years later, its words still impact in the Americans who value liberty and the people who defend it. Battle of Vicksburg. On the same day that Gettysburg battle ended in Pennsylvania, General Grant's troops defeated the Confederates in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Vicksburg was an important city on the Mississippi River, which divided the Confederate States. By winning the Battle of Vicksburg, the Union also won the control of the Mississippi River. No longer could the Confederates on one side of the river send supplies to their troops on the other side. The South was divided in two, but still refused to surrender. The First Battle of Bull Run was the first major battle won by the Confederacy. Confederate General Stonewall Jackson was the Confederate general most remembered for the First Battle of Bull Run. Ironclad ships for the Confederacy was the Merrimac. Ironclad ships for the Union was the Monitor. Battle in which more soldiers died than any other day was the Battle of Antietam. The Emancipation Proclamation is the document which declared freedom for slaves in southern states. The battle of the turning point of the war is the Battle of Gettysburg. Abraham Lincoln's important speech to honor fallen soldiers is the Gettysburg Address. The battle in which the Union gained control of the Mississippi River was the Battle of Vicksburg. Lincoln ordered blockade. The South powers affected the South, and the southern states badly needed to break the blockade. The control of the Mississippi River was important gain after the Battle of Vicksburg because it divided the South into two. And that is all I want to talk in this history lesson. Thank you for your listening and watching. Goodbye.